What's going on, guys? Dr. Andrew Fix back for another episode here on the code. And I want to talk to you guys today, building on our conversation from the previous episode, which was all about being present, focusing on the present moment, this time being the only time that we can affect, and trying not to dwell on the past, trying not to worry or get anxious about things that come up in the future. And I recently listened to the book called Let Them by Mel Robbins. And it's a good book. What I actually preferred more than the book was a couple podcast conversations and interviews she had on that very topic, because then there were some questions that came from the other person she was speaking with. And I thought they got into some really good discussion. So I would encourage you guys to check that out if you've not heard of that or heard of this concept of let them. And, before we dive into it too deep, all of you guys that are tuning in, listening to this episode here on the code, really, really appreciate your time, however you're tuning in. Thanks for spending your time on this conversation with us. So let's dive into it. One of the reasons why I love this concept of let them is all about it's controlling the controllables, right? It's one of our core values here at Physio Room. It's one that, I resonate with really hard, but it's also not always the easiest thing to do, to control the controllables, to focus on the things that are within your control. And a lot of times when I'm talking about this, I use the analogy of sports, right? There are things that are within your control, how you perform, holding onto the ball, etc. Like I use football as an example a lot of times. But there's a lot of things that impact the game or the play that are not within your control. The weather, the referees or the officials in the game, right? The umpires in a baseball game or something. You can't control these things, but that doesn't mean they don't affect the outcome of the game. But there's this constant battle of like trying not to let yourself and your demeanor and your attitude and your effort change based on those things, right? If the weather's bad for you, it's bad for everybody. And how you react and how you respond to it is going to make a significantly bigger impact than getting worried about it, right? Getting uptight or concerned about something that is out of your control. So this whole concept in the book, Let Them, is trying to help you take back control of the things that happen to you, of the things that people do to you, of the things that happen in your day. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, rather than responding and reacting in a, frustrated, upset kind of manner, where you're honking at them, now you're tailgating them, and you're trying to pull up next to them to glare at them through the window, side window of the car. Just let them cut you off. You don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they're in an extreme hurry, but you also don't have to let that impact your mood, impact your day. And don't let that one moment turn into like this downward spiral effect of a bad day for you. And you can take that to many other areas of your life. Say you're trying to start a relationship with somebody and you really like this person in a, romantic style relationship. You met someone, you're really liking them, you go on a couple dates, you think it's going really well, you're ready to take this to the next level, to the next step. And then all of a sudden, this person stops responding to you. You text them, they don't answer. You try to call them, they don't answer. They don't return your voicemail. They ghost you, right? And that feels terrible for you or anyone else that that has been ghosted. It feels horrible. This happened to me in the past years ago. But we have to let them, right? We can't let their decision cause us to go downhill for weeks and months on end. And regardless, if that's the type of person that's going to do that to you, that's going to ghost you, instead of communicate with you clearly, instead of be honest with you and transparent and upfront, that's not the person you want to be with anyways. You don't deserve that, and they don't deserve you. So you have to let them. The part that I love the most about the book was what comes after that let them part. After you decide and you make the decision, I'm going to move forward, I'm going to control what I can. Mel Robbins says, now let me now take control of these next steps that I'm going to do. Let me now go ahead and do this in response to that thing that happened to me. Let me go out and continue working on myself and forget about that person that ghosted me, right? And ultimately, that's the way that we're going to get to and achieve the things that we want to achieve, is let me take control of my life. Let me accept responsibility for the things that I need to do. And it's really awesome. It's like the concept is so simple, but it's also effective, right? If you take it and you use it, it can be really, really effective. Now, I want to take this briefly before we wrap up into the concept of like achieving your goals, or into the, um, we just had New Year's a few months ago. This is probably the time, early March, as I'm recording this, where people's New Year's resolutions start to wane and start to fall off track. And they think like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. Life is too busy. And they're focused on the outcome, right? They're focused on, I wanted to lose 15 pounds, or I wanted to qualify for something, some sort of a race. Um, and how you're not going to get there is by focusing on the outcome. If you're looking at the scale every day, you're not going to lose 15 pounds by focusing on losing 15 pounds. You're going to lose 15 pounds by focusing on the steps that you need to take, the habits that you need to stack in order to get there. And this is where the let me part comes in. Let me create a plan that's going to help me achieve my goals. Let me drink 100 ounces of water a day. Let me eat 150 grams of protein per day. Let me exercise 4 times per week, or whatever these habits, these leading indicators, these steps along the way to achieve the goal that you need to do that are going to help you reach the thing, right? And these two, I was driving here to work today, these two sort of conversations, these two topics were speaking to me. I knew I had to record a little podcast episode when I got here. And to build off again of what we talked about last week of being present, we need to control the controllables, and we need to, not dwell on the things that have happened to us, the things that people have done to us. We need to let them happen. And now let me go take control of the things that I need to control. And if you do that day after day, week after week, you're going to be able to stack these habits together, and you're going to be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Because, many of us overestimate what we can do in a day or a week, like in a really short time span. But many of us also underestimate the impact or the amount of things that we can get done in a really long period of time. So we underestimate what we can do in like a year or 10 years. And that's where we need to be focused, is like, where are we going? What's the vision? And what are the building block steps of how we're going to get there in the first place? So if you haven't heard that concept of let them, go check out the book, go check out a podcast. I'll put some of those things in the links to the show notes after this. And appreciate you guys listening here on The Code. If you've heard this show before, you've heard me say this. If this is your first episode, thanks for making it to the end. You can imagine how impactful a review goes on this podcast. So if you've never left us a review, or if this is your first episode, please scroll down to the review section, drop a 5-star review on there, maybe ask a question or two, and we'll check those out, and we'll try to get episodes out on those things. Until next time, this is Dr. Andrew Fix signing off. We'll catch you later on The Code. Bye-bye.